Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night time for another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Hesnan Fingers.
What is going on, people?
In another week with Angel. What's going on, Angel?
Yeah. Sorry about the bottle here.
That's okay. How dare you? And Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guest?
Sure. We have writer, director of many things, but tonight we're talking Grotesque 2. We have Brandon Rhiness on.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. So I've definitely heard of the first Grotesque. We've had Jamie Hill on the show, and she pops up in our chat room from time to time. I would be shocked if she doesn't show up tonight. Yeah, so she had mentioned it there, and I told you that there was I hadn't seen the full movie, but when I was watching it, there was definitely scenes that I've seen before. So I don't know how, but yeah, there was some scenes that were very familiar to me. But I know I haven't seen the whole movie because I would have remembered that. Like I would have remembered the story and everything, you know?
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed it.
Our marketing must have been working, as we promoted the hell out of it, shared clips and stuff. So I guess it must have just reached you somehow.
Yeah.
I share a lot on horror Facebook pages and stuff. So I must have just stumbled across it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it worked for sure. Well, it worked to the extent of I watched it today. But I also watched things out of order, and I watched the second one because I wanted to make sure I was able to get that one done before the show started, and then I had some time, and I started the second one, and I have 18 minutes left of it. But it's got a very both of them have a very fun vibe. It's a horror comedy. Do you want to give a little background to the story of Grotesque and Grotesque 2 for the listeners / watchers?
Yeah, basically, the first Grotesque is about this young woman named Mildred Moyer. She has an enormous nose. She's been tormented, made fun of her whole life about it. Everyone at her work, she has this horrible job where she's just abused and everything. And one day she decides, you know what, she's going to do something about it, and she's going to get plastic surgery to fix her nose. Of course, she can't afford a real plastic surgeon, so she goes to this kind of back alley guy who works out of a strip club basement.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it doesn't quite go according to plan. Some stuff happens, and she's left even worse. She's left, basically, her nose is cut off, and she has this gigantic hole in her face. So she just snaps, and then she steals this costume. It's like a stripper costume, basically, and puts it on. And then the rest of the movie is her systematically killing everyone in her life who ever offended her, even in the slightest way.
Right. But it's all done in a fun way. It's all done in the fun way.
Very, very fun way. By the end of the movie, she gets her nose fixed, and looks like it's all good. And then part Grotesque 2, it starts off where she's still kind of hiding out, because she wants to lay low because of the murder spree. She's hanging out with some people she met, and a bunch of things happen, and basically she gets swept up in this corrupt church that's taking advantage of people that are kind of in bad situations. And once she realizes that this church is evil, she dons the mask and the costume again and goes on another killing spree. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed, it reminds me like exactly like another director's movies, but it made me think of another director's movies, not in a bad way, in a good way. And I always feel weird comparing directors because I don't want to offend anybody if they're like, oh, I hate that guy. You know what I mean? But even in the sense of where you have some of the cast returning, but as almost different characters in the first and second one. But have you heard of the director Chris Seaver?
No, I don't think so.
No, he did a bunch of like Teen Ape movies, like Teen Ape Goes to Camp and stuff like that. They were on Netflix for a while. Then Netflix stopped supporting independent movies. But I'm not bitter. But very fun, but also horror in the sense of gory and, you know, a little over the top, but still very fun and funny. So it made me think of Chris Seaver movies, which is not a bad thing. Yeah.
When I was watching it, I was thinking of, especially in the first one, it takes place both of them actually at one point take place at a camp and whatever. And it reminds me of not the original Sleepaway Camp because it was a little bit more like straight horror, but like the sequels to the Sleepaway Camp where they had that extra like goofiness to them or like fun to them. Like the first one was okay, kill, but then the sequels had that like, okay, I'm gonna laugh while killing you kind of deal.
Yeah.
So as I was watching the both of them, it reminded me it had that feel to it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Nice. Did you get to watch both of them, Angel?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to watch part 2, but I did watch part 1.
Yeah,
I know. But yeah, no, I do remember having a blast with the first one, which once you catch on what's going on and you know the comedic vibes and all that kind of stuff. It's
like just watching her so like almost excited to do stuff. Like she's like skipping around like that, you know, like I don't know. I mean, so far I only have 18 minutes left of the first one and I really enjoyed it. And not taking anything away from the first one, I think the second one I like a little bit more so far. But I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up in my dumb head. But I mean, it's so far from what I can see, it's a perfect sequel. Like it you don't lose anything between the two. You know what I mean? Like it's I dug it. I would like you to check it out, Angel.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I just didn't get a chance for tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to jump on and give you your flowers for the first one that I did watch. That was awesome. I do remember when we watched it and covered it a while back. That I was.
Oh, did you do that on that Strange Show?
No, I was on that with you guys.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything.
That's all right, man. I'm here. I'm here to tell you, I was on that, and I was here when we were talking.
I don't remember a thing. Jesus Christ!
No,
I'm getting old, guys.
Hey, how many fingers? How many fingers?
You have fingers?
Yeah.
What year is this? Fingers? I thought we were all aliens now. Man, it sucks getting old.
That's all right.
The oldest one here. I'm sure of it. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed the sequel quite a bit. So yeah. When is that going to be available for streaming for the masses?
It should be very soon. We got picked up by Amazon Prime.
Oh shit.
It's just they don't let you know when it's going to go live. So it could be later tonight. It could be 2 months from now. We're basically just waiting.
Yeah.
And then we've submitted to a bunch of other streamers. It's just a lot of waiting, and sometimes we distribute it through Film Hub, so there's just that lag. Sometimes Tubi, they'll accept the movie, but sometimes I've had movies where it takes a few months before they pick it up. Then sometimes it's like a couple weeks and it's live. Sometimes it's a couple months. It's basically you're kind of at their mercy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically right now it's like sit around and wait, and one day it'll be out. And it gives us time. We're selling the DVDs right now because, quite honestly, we make a lot more selling the DVDs than we do on the pennies that the streamers pay.
So I'd heard it from one director, and I've asked a couple directors as they've come on. Not because the first one's on Tubi. Are you getting like okay kickback from that?
You know, honestly, Tubi's the best streamer,
Yeah.
like for indie films. Like I make most of my money comes from them.
Yeah.
But it's still like when it first comes out, usually you get that rush where you make, somewhat significant money, but then it drops off to like very little.
So you kind of, it's kind of like you have to almost like, I guess, like continue the marketing on that. If you know
yeah,
what I
and it's
mean?
never ending.
Yeah,
and it's weird because just this last like month, it's kind of all of a sudden went from like nothing to all of a sudden it's kind of ramping up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just a bunch of people stumble across it somewhere, or their algorithm picked it up, or they showed it on their main page again. Like I don't know the reason, but it's one of those things. But I got like multiple movies out, and it's like a full-time job just to constantly remind people to watch this film, just so I can make an extra bit of money each month. I mean, I know all indie people are in the same boat, but it's whatever, we just do as best we can.
Yeah.
So you said, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe when the second one is available on Tubi, maybe put some posts out like, a double feature, and like leave the link for both or something.
Oh yeah, and then I'm kind of hoping that when the second one comes out, all the people like the first one will watch it, but also people that never heard of the first one will now be aware of it, and they'll watch both. So it'll kind of be a boost for both movies.
Yeah. What were you saying, Angel?
No, I was gonna ask because he said he distributes. So like that's like a one-stop shop, right? Type of deal. You upload your media, and then they take care of like aggregating it to all these other.
Yeah. Film Hub. Basically you just submit it once to them instead of you having to go to 500 different streamers.
Yeah.
They'll just sell it to the streamers themselves, and then they take like a 20% cut, and then you get the rest of the money. It's the good side and the bad side with them, but it's I've been ripped off by distributors before in some of my earlier movies, so with them it's kind of good because it's basically like YouTube. You don't want it there anymore. You take your movie down, you still own it. So right now at this point in my career, it's the best choice for me, and it gets it in front of people basically. Like fans that we would have had if we didn't go through Film Hub. My YouTube channel gets some traction, but sometimes you just need to go on Tubi and those bigger platforms to get people to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I was just the other day poking around and just like looking at one movie, then looking at the suggested movies below it, and just going through looking at those and like adding stuff to my queue, my never ending queue that I'll never get to. With my Netflix, I have so much stuff on my Netflix queue that I've never watched.
Ooh, piece of candy.
This is going to be leaving soon. I put this on when I first got Netflix.
Yeah,
I've never watched it.
Oh man.
But yeah, I keep adding and adding and adding, and I'm just like, what am I going to watch? I never watch what I have there. I just watch streaming BBC sitcoms, or
that is true. That is true. You do,
or like the first 48. I'll just watch that a bunch.
It's just hard, dude. There's so many new things coming out that is one thing you want to watch, and then you put it off for a bit, but then there's 1,000 new things, and even like say Insidious or some series I like. And it's like, I got to get around to watching part 4. And all of a sudden it's like, well, part 5's already out. I haven't even watched part 4 yet. And then all of a sudden you're like 2 behind. And then it's like, you're just kind of bombarded with so many things. As a filmmaker, it's like, how do you get people to pick your thing that they never heard of over the million other things, many of which are big Hollywood, that have like millions of dollars backing them. Like, obviously that's going to get most of the attention. And then all the indie filmmakers are fighting for all the scraps left over to try to get people to watch them, and it's not easy.
I think things have changed a little bit over the last, since the pandemic. I think things have changed for the better. I mean, you're an independent filmmaker. You would know more than I would, but from what I've heard from like other filmmakers, I think things like, especially with stuff like Terrifier and Skinamarink, like how well those did. I think it's opened up the floodgates again for independent filmmakers, because that's where the originality is coming from.
Isn't it great that movies like that can be popular? It's I wouldn't say it's like a smack in the face to like Hollywood movies, but it's kind of like, it just shows that like you guys aren't everything, right? People are still willing to watch this stuff. And it was kind of like, Skinamarink's a perfect example because it was made here in Edmonton with people I know.
Yeah.
It's like
Jamie Hill.
A really bizarre movie that goes against everything like Hollywood standards, and it could be huge. So it kind of gives everyone hope that you don't have to just follow the same bullshit freaking formula the Hollywood movies do. You could do some weird, crazy thing and still make good money at it. So it kind of gives me faith, especially like in horror fans, that it's like, okay, horror fans will find something good and make it popular if it exists. So makes me feel good.
Very good point. That's
well,
true.
That light is shining brighter, because before everyone was clamoring for stuff and they never went out to look. But then the pandemic hit, and it's like, okay, the only thing that we have to watch now is the independent movies that were still getting made. And then it opened up their eyes to be like, oh, okay, there is some stuff. I mean, now you have like A24, which is, that mid-tier where it's not like
more experimental stuff.
But it's more
artsy,
more experimental, artsy, and a little step down from your big budget movies. So that's kind of helping out the cause, I think, a little bit. But for the most part, I think more people are looking the indie route. And then with all these different streaming services, with Tubi, with Shudder, with everything, I think there's more, lanes for people to find it. So,
yeah, I definitely hope that's the case. And I hope it gets better. I don't want indie film to kind of get to the point where it's just not worth doing, where it just becomes too hard, too expensive, and it's just not worth it. But honestly, even if that happened, that would mean that like most people would quit, which means there'd be fewer things, which might even work out benefit to the people that stuck through it. So I think it's a matter of just keep doing it and keep building my audience. Each movie I do, kind of people like my old movies will watch it, and I'm slowly building this fan base. And it's never easy, but it's I'm just glad that someone's willing to watch it, and the people that do watch it tend to like it. So that's always great.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you may get to the point where it's just impossible to keep going, like financially wise. But there's some artists out there that they're just going to do it no matter what. Like same thing with musicians in band, like music. Like what's really happening in the music industry? It's like there's no album releases anymore. They like unless you're like a huge like artist. There's no major
singles or EPs.
EPs, right? But it's not physical media. Yeah, it's
there's still
not as much. Not as much. I mean, there's cars. You can buy cars now that have no physical media way to play physical media. So that's kind of crazy.
Like the new PS5 thing that they're doing.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
Trying to get rid of the disc drives, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, those are also a thing. Those are a thing that can break down the road, and they have, but it even playing out like in my area, we used to have a lot of venues for independent, like for local bands and smaller bands coming through touring to play. And they pretty much shut everything down except for one place. Well, two places, but one of them they're planning on shutting down soon. So there was all these places that you could go to, like 5 or 6 different places in one night, see a mixture of different bands. And now there's one regular club and one bigger place, the Palladium.
Yeah, but I think like that, the pandemic was like the great equalizer for a lot of already like hanging on, threads, like spots like that, or like, certain establishments or certain things like, and I think like just because of how like impactful like that like stop was, that like, some places never opened back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like, we couldn't afford to rent, like if we didn't have these shows every night, like back then.
In my area, this was happening pre-pandemic. This is like pre-pandemic. It was because they like in my area, it was because they wanted to build a baseball stadium. So they tore down a huge section of the city, including affordable housing and legendary rock clubs that the Rolling Stones would stop and play at. And they would, they tore that down because they wanted to open a baseball stadium. It's not a major league baseball stadium. It's
how's that going?
Like
how's the hot dogs?
Well, they're looking to tear down Ralph's in Worcester.
Are they really?
Yeah, to extend more for Polar Park. Yeah.
Wait, when is Ralph's on the chopping block?
I don't know. It's been being talked about.
Oh,
so then that would leave as far as like actual, like there's maybe some open mics around, and that's it. There's no places you can have like legit shows other than the Palladium.
Yeah.
It's sad. But I don't know. This has nothing to do with Grotesque 2. I don't know why.
No, it doesn't. It does, but no, because I think it was.
He's wearing a Gwar shirt. It made me think of it because he's wearing a Gwar shirt, and Gwar used to play at the Palladium all the time when it was Rock and Shock would come around and back in the day, and
Welcome to the Wicked Horror Show, everybody. Where you don't know what you're going to be talking about at any given point.
Talking about the defunct local music scene.
Well, like it's the independent art scene in general.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's like, to go back what I was saying, like, but then you saw with the pandemic, there was the uptick of like guerrilla filmmakers, like, like just huddling together and like, all right, there's 10 of us, no one leaves the fucking cabin.
Wasn't that the deal with Skinamarink? That's what happened with Skinamarink, right?
Yeah, no one's leaving the cabin, and we're making a fucking movie, and because like, it was like Netflix, Tubi, fucking what's the other ones? Shutters were like, hey, we got these new independent films from India, fucking Japan, and like, you start seeing all these different, and like that was like one thing where like, it took like a big worldwide thing to happen for pandemic for like filmmakers, like independent filmmakers that are crowdfunding their work to like get like all right, you're up, you're out there in the fucking trenches, like creating stuff for us to watch. So like, I did watch a shit ton of movies during that time, and a lot of it was independent horror and independent like drama stuff, and and it was like there are a lot of original like stories still to be told, and I'm sure there's more to come with how, like, I know you said, Brandon, that it gets too expensive, but like I think that like now is, depending on like, I guess your entry, like friction point of entry, it could be easier, you know what I mean, especially if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and like you're building a community. And I noticed that Grotesque 2 had a campaign that looked successful, right?
We did 2 campaigns. We raised a significant portion of the budget, but then again, it's the money it takes to make the thing. That's only part of it. It's also, it takes up your time. Even if you can make movies for nothing, it's still like whether you have a job or not, like you take time away from the family, like you spend your weekends doing it. Sooner or later, your wife's gonna be like, "Hey, like you're never home," or just like your kids miss you, or you're just tired, or like you don't see your friends anymore. Like there is a big investment beyond just the money. So it's like, like it takes, like, I mean, for me, this is my full-time job. So it takes up as much time as a job would, but there's people that do this and they have a family and a full-time job. So they, get home from work and then leave to go do this stuff. And especially if you're making little to no money on it, sooner or later, it starts to, you're definitely going to question yourself. Like, is this worth it?
I was just going to say something that does not apply to you, but it's just the perfect example of why Canada is a little cooler. I was going to say, you don't have a job, you don't have any money, you don't have health insurance. And I'm like, what? He lives in Canada. Yes, he does.
I guess we got a slight edge in that respect, but
I'm jealous.
No, I get that. And it's like, you got to, I guess, weigh your, like what's like important, I guess, in your quest to
well, how many times do we hear that, like, even you want to do like a campaign like an Indiegogo or whatever, and it's just that's like like a full-time job in itself, because you got to keep up with it. You got to see what you got to ship or whatever, and it's just it helps out in the long run, but it's also how much time are you willing to sacrifice towards just that aspect out of it.
Yeah, and it looked like I correct me if I'm wrong, but I know like the way that some of the cast was listed in the ending credits, like faces that were in like papers or whatever, and then there was like were some of the extras and stuff, was that part of Perks?
Yeah. If you remember in the movie, the part where the Clobel, he's like kind of like the money guy from the evil family. There's a part where he's like opening the envelopes and taking the money and making fun and tossing out the letters. All the people whose names he read or the pictures you see, those were all crowdfunding donations. And then the part after Mildred leaves the camp and she's sitting in her car listening to the radio and everyone on the radio is talking about her. All those voices were people that donated. So I think it's quite, because some movies they'll do that. You could pay so much money to get in the movie, and then they have to like shoehorn you in somewhere. And so I tried to make it look not so obvious what we did.
Yeah, I didn't assume that was the case until I saw the credits. Like I wasn't like, hey, that's obviously that, but I didn't even think of it until I saw the credits. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it was done well.
Actually, the guy,
like, it just be me like in a picture in the background, like, hey, I'm in a movie.
Well, the guy, remember the part kind of towards the end where the guy calls her a bitch and then she like slams his head in the trunk?
Yeah.
That guy, Jeff Scott, he's a great guy. We've kind of become friends with him, but he liked the Grotesque movies, became a fan, and then he worked with Elizabeth, who plays Mildred Moyer, on a movie in the US. And he basically ended up donating us money, and he drove up here from Arizona just to be in the movie, which is like, that's a friggin' long ass drive.
Yeah.
So we found out he was coming, and it's like, well, we already have the script written. So it's like, can we come up with a new scene from the beginning? So we wrote that scene, and then we shot it at one of the locations that we already had booked at the motel. So yeah, he came up and did that, and he's kind of been friends with us ever since. And he even came up again this summer just to like drive through the mountains and kind of hang out with us. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess it just shows that when people love something, they're just willing to commit to that. And of course, it helps us out too, because those things, like, we need people giving us money, whether it's beforehand or after or something, because it's a lot of costs in making it.
Yeah. Speaking of like characters and stuff, how did you find your main actress? Did you work with her before?
She's pretty fantastic. Yeah, she's pretty great.
Yeah, Elizabeth is like great. She's like definitely like a rising star in the Edmonton field. Like she lives in Saskatchewan, different province, but I kind of met her here when she lived here. But she's been doing movies in LA and Vegas, and she's got like, I've even lost track of everything she's got going on. It's like I can't even keep up, and it's it gets harder to get the chance to work with her because she's so busy. But yeah, we met her. She auditioned what's kind of my first movie. It was called Cold Comfort, or the distributor changed the name to The Project. She auditioned for that, so I just met her when she auditioned, and we ended up casting her. And then we brought her back for another short film. And then we brought her back for Hot Box, my stoner comedy. And I think that's kind of when I started, really noticing her talent, and I like working with her. And then that's when I came up with my idea for I'm Haunted, my found footage series. So I kind of pitched that to her, and she ended up playing the main character in that, and then doing a great job at it. And then when it came time to do Grotesque, she was the first one I thought of. And then since then, she's kind of been a main staple in everything I do.
Well, yeah, super talented, and I don't know, it's crazy, like how naturally it seemed, like how natural it was.
Because at that point in time, I guess since you worked worked with each other so much, it's kind of like maybe you wrote the stuff for her, or she just knew what to expect, and then it just, which we've mentioned many times before, where sometimes you'll see a film and it just doesn't feel right. And then we'll bring them on and they're like, yeah, this is the first time we met each other, whatever. Then you get other movies where it just seems so flawless. And it's like, yeah, we've known each other for forever. And it just comes off the screen like it's natural. Sometimes you watch something, you're like, it just doesn't vibe right. but this one for sure feels like it's just like seamless and flawless. So
yeah, I think it's one of those things where, especially now, like I kind of know like her and other people, I know their talents, I kind of know what they're like, so I kind of cater a character to them because I know they'll be able to pull it off. Or I'll just write a character with someone in mind and then ask them later if they want to play it. But we kind of prepared for that. But it's also like it's just her like acting talent and stuff. Like she brought it to life. And the original, like there's I think it was 2017 or 2018. We released kind of like a fake trailer for Grotesque. It was a trailer with no movie. It was kind of like our first test at it, and that was her first time playing it. But the like original script was much more serious. It wasn't like so jokey. And I don't know if you see, there's a poster you could find like online where it's like her with the bloody bandages on her face and she's like holding a knife. And you could tell just by the look of it, it's like, oh, that's a darker movie. Like it wasn't a comedy, it was a straight up slasher. But as we started writing, I doing multiple drafts, I kind of made it funnier and funnier. And then when Elizabeth like injected her own personality into the, or not her personality, but a personality into it, all of a sudden it just became what it did. And I'm kind of glad it did, because I think if we made it serious, it wouldn't have been as enjoyable.
Because of that,
I mean, I don't know.
Because
I think I would have enjoyed it either way. But sorry, go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, because this how many. That's I guess the beauty and the downfall of horror, because you have sometimes there's gatekeepers, but for the most part, you have your people that, for me, I know I've mentioned it many times on here that I like the combination of the two, where you can take some comedy and horror and put them together. Some people are like, oh, it's two different things or whatever. But I guess with the horror community, it all depends. But for me, I enjoy a little laugh when something's crazy.
I kind of knew I knew I was going to put a lot of people off with it, because I know some people like horror purists are going to watch it and just be pissed off that it's like funny.
Oh well.
And it's whatever, they're just not going to watch it. Even some of the YouTube comments are like, maybe we should make another one, but it should be serious kind of thing. And it's like, well, no, like it's all fine to do a horror movie that's serious, but this Grotesque has its kind of vibe to it. It'd be kind of ridiculous for us to do another one that just took it totally serious. I don't think it would be as successful.
Yeah.
So this Grotesque 2 has some pretty awesome kills in it. Were there any kills that were particularly? I know you didn't direct it, but was there any? Oh, there. Yes, Jesus Christ! I'm batting 1,000 tonight. Oof. Anyways, Jesus, were there any kills that were like harder, like than you thought they were going to be? To
Yeah, there's a few. One that really worked out was when the dude jumps off the building and lands on the spike.
Yeah, that came out great.
It was obviously influenced by Cannibal Holocaust, but even while that day we were shooting some scenes inside the church, and I didn't know exactly how we were going to pull that off. Like I knew how it was done, but the prop people were like Caitlin and that team were apparently they had some sort of thing designed, but I hadn't seen it. So I'm kind of worrying. It's like, oh my God, we have to shoot this guy impaled. I'm like, I don't even know how it's going to work. We haven't even assembled the thing. And I remember it was like down to the last minute where we're like screwing this contraption together and covering the base with green screen and, trying to make the spike that comes out of his mouth. And so basically we were kind of almost, I wouldn't say we were winging it, but we were pretty close to winging it because we'd never tested it out to see if it would even work. And thank God it actually looked really friggin' cool.
It did.
One of the hard one was when the Cindy gets split in the car. I won't say exactly how it happens, but she gets her limbs torn off. That it didn't quite work. Like it was hard to do. And honestly, we could have spent more time like just doing the effects on like the digital effects to kind of improve it. But we were basically out of money, and I just wanted to release the movie. So I was like, it worked as good as it did, and still gets a laugh.
But it kind of seemed like seamlessly went into it, because it was like that one scene with the appendages leaving, and then it went straight into that next one, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that one came out of nowhere. I was like, okay, so
yeah.
But it's still, I mean, it was effective. I knew where they were going with it, and I think that's part of the charm with independent films, especially independent horror, is what they're trying to pull off, and it's sometimes it's like, oh yeah, they got that to work great, or other times like, it could have been a little bit better, but they went for it, you know.
Yeah, we went for it. And funny enough, that scene you mentioned, like there was supposed to be a little thing in between there that we had to cut because it didn't work. And I remember I was like, shit, that's such a weird cut that it's like she gets split and all of a sudden we're at this new place. But I was like, it's not, I don't think it's that bad that it's gonna like ruin someone's experience. I think it would have been worse to keep that other bit in there that didn't look good. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. There's a few moments we had to do that, like the part where at the end of the bowling alley where she's like saws the guy's head off, and the effect didn't work, and we didn't have money I didn't want to do like digital bloods. It looks crappy. So I was like, how about we just put up a sign that says a few minutes later, and then his head's already cut off. And then Julie, my co-producer, is just like, oh my God, let's do it. And it's like, it's just like, hey, we're for the kind of production we are, it's just like, forgive us. That's what we could afford. But yeah, there's some of the kills turned out quite well. There's like so many things that worked out, very well. There's, I don't know, what were some of your favorites?
Well, the impalement was probably, it definitely looked very cool. And I also like the fact that she was like flipping out, and there's this whole family just standing there like with their mouth agape, like, oh, like they couldn't believe that she was saying all this stuff. And
it's a skit
practicing for a play on a skit on for next for church.
That was a different
F-bombs. Yeah,
that was a different thing too, where she's like dragging the body, and then at the end it's completely different. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what happens when you drive for a long time.
Some of the stuff it made me think of like a cut in like a cartoon, like where it would be like, okay, so she's just in this next spot and it's already set up and it's gonna happen, and then she's gonna be the next one. It's set up like it's just going quickly, and I'm like, I liked it because it just reminded me of like almost like a Tom and Jerry thing where like their trap is just set for the next one. You know? So
if you use Cannibal Holocaust for one of them, did you take inspiration from other movies as well?
Yeah, there's trying to remember off the top of my head. There are other ones. There's a little bit of the burning in there, and there was in the first movie too. I think with the shears or something. Oh, the face boiling in the pot.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of from Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Then the salt after. Oof.
There's I can't remember them all off the top of my head. So obviously we got the Jaws reference in there where she's swimming with the shears in the water. There's a few things. There's even in the first movie, people were pointing out like other horror movies that I was paying homage to that I'd never even seen before.
No,
I was
really?
like, wow, man, that's complete accident. I didn't intentionally do that. But even in the first one, people were like, oh, the part where the photographer's taking pictures of the model.
Yeah.
Yep.
People are like, oh, like that's from like Austin Powers. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't do that on purpose. I've seen Austin Powers years ago, but that wasn't intentional.
Just a person taking pictures. Not every every time someone, oh, you're doing an Austin Powers thing. Like, no, I'm on vacation. Like, I'm just just real quick, Sergio and Life is Pain are both in the chat apologizing for being late.
What up?
Life is Pain saying he's going to rewatch the stream tomorrow. I do have the trailer for Grotesque 2. Hopefully I didn't grab it's a minute. It's just under 2 minutes. So I grabbed it from your YouTube channel. So
sure.
Grab the right one.
Be good. Yeah, I guess I'm going to play it right now. We'll find out. If not, it's just going to be added to the list of screw-ups today.
Yay!
Yay! All right, here we go. Is the trailer for Grotesque 2. And if you like what you see here, go check out Grotesque on Tubi right now.
Tubies.
And it's Tubies is good to get monies. Yeah. Here's the trailer for Grotesque 2, and we'll be right back.
Do you feel lost? Well, I'm Cornelius Spretzer, and I'm here to help. Through the power of the Lord, I can heal your pain. Send me a picture. Be sure to include cash or a check to ensure you receive maximum blessing. Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth. Rise and be born again, Sister Noble.
Have you heard of our Spretzer spiritual retreat?
Welcome to Camp Holy Springs. I had a lot of fun the last time I went camping. some terrible news. 2 members died tonight.
I'm the last person in the world you want to make angry.
I'll take that into consideration.
I have people to kill. Lots of people.
I've missed this.
Are you the Mildred that killed all those people?
Mm-hmm.
Give hell, Mildred!
There's a new boss in town. Sorry, that sucked. Where the f*** is everyone?
Scared, Mildred?
I mean, yeah, a little. Ah! That is messed up. Ah! This is gonna be awesome!
There you go. Like I said, go check out the first one on Tubi right after the show. I'm gonna say right now. I have a personal question. What's your problem with bass players?
Oh, it's it's an ongoing joke because I am a bass player.
So am I.
So it started in Hot Box. There's an ongoing joke where there's the band in the movie kicks their bass player out, or he leaves to go start his own band, and they're kind of ripping on him. It's like, you're a bass player, you can't start your own band. Like, it's not even a real instrument. All this kind of stuff. And then I've kind of continued that on as a thing where it's just become a running gag. So obviously, I love bass players; it's like my favorite instrument. But I figured that I could just kind of poke fun at them.
Okay, I forgive you. I appreciate that. What kind of another personal question? What kind of bass do you have, or basses do you have?
This guy.
Is that a Schecter?
That is a. I don't even know what this is.
Was that? Is it an Ibanez?
Yeah,
it's an Ibanez SDGR.
Sounds about right.
Nice.
What kind of wood is that, Kevin?
I don't know.
I don't know.
From a tree.
It's from the trees.
I have a American Fender Jazz bass. I've wanted an American one forever, and I finally got one, and it's awesome. I love it. It's like playing butter.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about bass and how awesome it is.
All right.
That was funny too. Just reminded me playing that trailer. They like that church that we filmed, and they were awesome. Like they, let us film it in there, which was very nice of them. But we were kind of like, how much do we tell them about what we're going to be doing in their church?
Right.
Right.
Kind
of horrible. And
did you let them see it? Yeah. Did you let them see it afterwards?
Some of them saw it, and we haven't had any complaints. But the thing where they drew the line was crucifying someone.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you crucified someone in the movie.
And that's why that was supposed to happen at the front of the church, but we had to do it outside. So that's why all of a sudden go outside. But it's understandable. They gave us, they let us use their baptismal font, and they helped out a lot. So it was I guess I could see them drawing a line there.
That's pretty cool though, that they let you do all that stuff, and then I don't know, it could have been worse. Like you could have been shooting adult movies in there. And
it wasn't that bad. They're apparently it caused a bit of a riff in the church. I guess there was the older crowd, and then there was the newer crowd, and they were like, "Oh, we don't want that going on in the church." And then, but I guess the newer, younger minister guy was like, "It's fine." And apparently it was a
get with the times. Get with the times.
As long as credit it, and you could bring new people into the church, into the ministry.
Yeah, honestly. It's funny because I think I filmed at least 2 or 3 other things there, and then some bigger union movie found out this church was there, so they went and filmed in the church. So all of a sudden after us, it's every project in the city kind of descended on this one church. So I guess we were lucky to find it first.
But they're probably getting money, so
yeah, they get something out of it at least. So
yeah. I don't know if I would go to a church to film anything unless it's an abandoned one. That'd be cool, because I don't know I think I'd burst into flames if I went into a real church. I'm not an organized religion man myself, but it is what it is. Angel, you were saying something?
I was just gonna ask the approach from part 1 to part 2. I know you said you have other works. I was looking on Tubi. Ezra and the Gore Girl. You said The Project, which used to be called something else.
Yeah, Cold Comfort.
Cold Comfort, Hotbox, Mental Case.
Yeah, it's a 3-part web series I did. It was kind of like the first thing I ever did.
And then I'm Haunted. So, I mean, you have these things here that are published works. Well, I'm assuming that you've been, before you started sharing it with the world and the local community, you were doing this for a while, trying to. So what I'm asking is, like, what was the process between Grotesque 1 and 2, like expanding on the story, and like what was any stark differences in approaching the work?
Yeah, it was kind of hard because basically the first Grotesque, like the story wraps up nicely. It's like the story's done. She's back to normal. She's killed everyone. She's no longer angry. So it's like, well, how, like, why would she needed a reason to want to kill a whole bunch of and she's not like Freddy or Jason where she'll kill anyone. Like, she only kills bad people. So it's like, well, how would she all of a sudden have enough bad people in her life to have enough murders for a movie?
Yeah.
So I was kind of really thinking about that. It's like, what would happen? But then I was like, oh, what if she joins like an organization or whatever, and like they're bad, and she kills everyone in the organization? And so then I thought of like, well, how about a church? But like, why would she all of a sudden go to a church? Mm-hmm. And I was like, what if Felix, her love interest from the first movie, has died? So she's very sad. And then she just sees an advertise, and they kind of lure her in because, you know, it's kind of what some corrupt churches do. And all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, it all comes together. And then, you know, and then we found like Julie, my co-producer, who plays, she played Blanche in the first movie and Veronica in this one, like the lead female bad guy. She just was out one day and found this cool looking roller skating rink. It's actually the biggest roller skating rink in Canada, apparently. She went in and was like, wow, this place looks great, and talked to the owner and was like, we're filming a movie. Like, would you let us film in here? And they were like, yeah, sure. So it's like, okay, so we put that in the movie, and then we found that awesome campground, and then the band scene, the scene where she strangles the chick with the bass string. I just saw a Facebook ad that someone was renting out a band rehearsal space, and they had pictures of it, and I was like, shit, that looks cool. So we contacted her, and then she let us film there, and so we kind of just worked the story around cool stuff that we had, and it worked fine. And then we put that twist ending in that I'm not going to ruin, just to kind of throw a curveball at everyone.
I was going to ask about that after the show, but I will not. I'll just make it a surprise for everyone.
We got quite a bit of a shock there. We did a couple of theater screenings of it, and that was I had a lot of people asking about it afterwards.
I mean, I don't know. We've seen horror movies where other things have happened.
Yeah,
there's always a possibility.
In the long run.
Yeah, always a possibility. So you were talking about the actress that played Blanche, and I'm trying to think. I had a question in my mind, and I totally lost it.
Julie Whalen is her name.
I totally lost it. Oh well. Sorry, guys. I'll remember next time, I guess.
Actually, I kind of owe it to her that Grotesque was even made, because we were actually in pre-production on a different movie called One Night Drunk. It was kind of like it was in the line of Hotbox, because we just came off that movie. And we were like, you know, putting that movie together. And then I'd been writing Grotesque in my own time. And I was like, by the way, like, I wrote this movie called Grotesque. And she read that, and she's like, oh my God, like, this is so good. She's like, how about, like, let's do this one instead? And I was like, but we've already started working on the other one. And then I was like, well, I guess we could do whatever we want. So we had to tell our team, like, okay, we're going to basically scrap this other movie, and then we're going to do this Grotesque movie instead. And that's kind of what started the whole thing. So it was kind of thankful to her that it actually got made. And she does add a lot to it. Like, it's funny because in Hotbox, she plays like a super sweet religious girl. Mm-hmm. And then in Grotesque 2, she just plays the most vile, evil woman possible. So it kind of shows her acting range.
Yeah, especially in the first one, I was like, I can't wait for this girl to be done. Like, I cannot wait for her to die. Like, she was the exact kind of person I despised when I was in high school. I was just like, ugh. Speaking of that, I have a high school reunion coming up next month. Hooray!
Hey, congratulations!
30 years, everyone. 30 years.
Thanks.
Yeah, yikes. He said yikes.
Yeah, I guess I'm only 3 or 4 years off from that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I graduated in 94. So
I graduated in 97.
yeah. See, I told you I was the oldest one here.
2000 here.
03.
Blech. Blech.
Let me ask you. I just want to ask a little bit on the back of house. So what kind of gear you guys shoot on this? Like,
Sony FS7. Does that sound right? It's fine. I'm not the gear guy. Like we hired a camera crew and they kind of deal with all of that. And I know, especially for Grotesque 2, we had at least 2 different cameras because we had 2 different DPs because the guy that shot the full first movie, he was only available weekends. So anytime it wasn't a weekend, we had Sam Reed, a different cinematographer, and he had a different camera, different gear. So honestly, I'm the wrong person to ask about that. That was kind of not my area of expertise. I was like, as long as it looks good, you could shoot on whatever the hell you think is the best way to do it.
So you basically just made sure that they matched at least the look and the science. Right?
Yeah, that's one thing I made sure. I was like, hey, your cameras are going to look pretty good together. Then we had one person color grade the whole thing, and they made sure that it, like, at least it wasn't jarringly obvious.
This was shot on a potato, and this one was shot on an Ari.
Yeah, I don't think you could. You might be able to tell maybe shooting style if you're a professional cinematographer. You might be able to watch it and pick out things, but I don't think no one's mentioned it. I can't even really tell myself. I only know who shot what because I was there. But yeah.
All right. What's your like? Adi, so you directed it. So like, what do you like? Since we're talking about cinematography and DP and so like, do you like more of a handheld? Because I haven't checked all the other work out, so I'm not 100% sure like on your directing style. But like, do you prefer like handheld, more rigid type of stuff, or like mechanical gimbals? Like,
I prefer. If I had to pick, I like more static shots. Like I like some of my things. Like I'm Haunted. It's a found footage series, so that's like all handheld.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't like excessive camera movement. I don't mind some moving or when there's action, but a lot of the time I just find if you're like movies like King Kong versus Godzilla, Transformers, where like everything is just super complex, cameras always moving, and it's like especially for a movie like this, I want to keep it simpler.
Yeah.
So and it also just the fact that like we don't have a lot of rehearsal time, and a lot of time we're basically like we haven't practiced this until we're on set. So it's like we have to kind of do it in the simplest way possible because we don't have time to experiment. But sometimes we do some handheld stuff and some movements like that. I prefer I prefer more kind of static shots because I want like the acting and the story to tell the story rather than the camera to tell the story. So that's kind of my preferred method.
Oh, awesome! I like that.
Right on.
Because that's what like we're thinking. Like you said, that's kind of in a way like say stylistically like when you can experiment a little bit more, then you find like different things. But if you're not having the time to like block stuff out and like, all right, this would be like scene 1A, scene 1B type of deal. Like let's see what it looks like this way, but then you're burning time and daylight and
I try to only shoot what we're going to use kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually get good coverage. Like we'll shoot from different angles, but yeah, speaking of daylight, in the first Grotesque, that fight scene at the end between Blanche and Mildred, we were like, it was like 20 minutes till the sun went down and we were just starting to fight. And it was like, shit. So like we did end up doing the whole thing in basically one long kind of like take.
Yeah.
We just hit roll. The cinematographer was holding the camera, and we just like filmed. We'd rehearsed the fight a lot, so we just filmed it and do this bit, do it from another angle, and we ripped through that so insanely fast. And I was like, this is probably not going to work. I just have to hope that I can edit it in a way that it makes sense. And it actually turned out very well. Like it actually was really freaking good as far as I'm concerned. You never would have known that we just like winged it all in one shot because we were out of time.
So here, tape this to your head.
Yeah.
So we do have to wrap things up. It's 9:55 already.
Already, bro?
Yeah, already.
Fast.
Yeah. So
Wow.
where would you like people to follow you for updates and stuff about your movies, and maybe when Grotesque 2 is going to be available for the masses?
Yeah, just keep. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under my own name and Twitter. If you just also follow the Higher Universe YouTube channel, you'll see all my most of my previous movies and short films and interviews and stuff on there. But yeah, if you just keep an eye on Tubi and keep an eye on Facebook, and then when Grotesque 2 comes out, if you're paying attention, you're going to notice because we'll be advertising that everywhere. And yeah, it should be. Hopefully, it'll be on. I think it's stupid about Amazon though, is for whatever reason, like it seems like they only release them in US and UK, which means that here in Canada we can't even watch our own movie because they don't have it on Amazon Canada.
Weird.
It's not every case, but it seems like most cases it's like that. So I'm expecting that again. So, but yeah, at some point, every time it's on a new platform, we'll announce it. So keep your eye out for it, and you can't miss it.
Okay. And Life is Pain. He's over in the UK, and they have Tubi over there now, so he can check it out on Tubi.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
He's
So
got a bunch of stuff on there.
Yep. So Angel, what about yourself? Where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Chaos Manus on Instagrams. You can follow That Strange Show, the podcast that we do not on Tuesday nights. That Strange Show on Instagram. And I think we'll have a new episode coming up at some point. We cover we go back into the zombie apocalypse, and we talk about a bunch of weird shit. But yeah, check that out. And Tony, where can people find you, bro?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You'll find me on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on X, which I don't use. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is my biggest, quickest growing platform. That's where you find me there. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where you're going to show off the movies behind me. And of course, here most Tuesdays, whether we have an awesome guest or it's just horror movie talk, find us here on the Wicked Horror Show. Like I said, most Tuesdays. And actually, before this, but before too, remember to watch us. Remember to watch us, because then you won't be able to see the trailer like Grotesque.
You just heard the trailer. You must feel like a fool.
Exactly.
You didn't see nothing.
So come either when we go live or just rewatch the
on the YouTube.
Exactly, on the YouTube. Kevin.
A-Knuckle on Instagram. Besides doing the show, I also am part of That Strange Show with Angel and the occasional Re-Education of Nancy Ann Ritter, all of which are part of both the Dorkening Podcast Network and Dead of Winter Entertainment.
That's right.
And stay tuned for some info, hopefully some more info soon about the next Dead of Winter festival.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah. But thanks for watching / listening.
Yes,
and,
Brandon, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for having me on.
Hanging out and shooting the shit and
shooting the poop.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
1 second.